What is up, guys? It's Fresh, back with another video. Today we have a storytime episode of Malicious Compliance, and if you remember your 90s Nickelodeon cartoons, boy, you're gonna like this one. I charged you too much? My friend, you have no idea. I used to be a bartender and manager at a small family-owned restaurant. We had this one customer who I'll call D. It's short for douchebag. Anyways, he used to be a really nice guy. Always fun to talk to, had interesting stories, the works. However, after about 8 months of him being a regular, he asked me out. I very politely and kindly turned him down. And my god, you would have thought I threatened his mom with the way he reacted. So, following that point, he turned into a giant douchebag, always snapping at me, both literally and figuratively, complaining about food that he never had an issue with before, etc. A couple months later, we had some changes to our menu and some slight price changes. Notably, his favorite soup, the elk chili, was 75 cents more. He stormed in, sat down, and ordered elk chili. I said, "Of course, I just want to make sure you're aware of the change." He snapped at me and said, "How dumb do you think I am? I can read." Okay, my dude, whatever you say. So he gets his soup, his meal, a few beers, and a glass of one of our higher quality bourbons. I bring him the check and he flips out. "This is more than it was before. You never told me that it would be more. This is fraud. I'm not paying this. Fix it." Okay, I can do that. However, on the check, I had also charged him for only happy hour price beers, which was significantly less than our regular prices. Happy hour ended before he even got there. I also charged him for a lower quality bourbon by the same company. Please note, the owner was okay with that since he was technically a regular and had spent a lot of money there. So, I fixed his check for him. But I fixed all of it. The new check was about $15 more than it was before. He was so mad he was at a loss for words, and I took that time to show him how I fixed the check. He never came back on nights I was working after that. I don't work there anymore. I wonder how he's doing. Huh, you guys thought I didn't make nice guy videos anymore. They find their way in there. They're such a pervasive part of society. Oh boy, did they find their way in there. Not literally. Oh boy, not literally. Marge Simpson hair complies with all boys middle school uniform code. Background. My Catholic middle school in Mexico City reflected the demographics of Mexico City. 1,200 boys, 10% white, 20% native, 70% mestizo, and me being the single black bean in the, no, I'm not going to pronounce this word either, rice. The school had a peculiar uniform code where we attended in a formal uniform Mondays and special events, and in civvies Tuesdays through Friday, except for having weekly PE on a civvies day and having to be wearing sportwear. But every day our hair had to be presentable, including on the sides, the hair must not cover the student's ears. Behind the head, the hair must not fall below the natural growth line. In front, the hair must not cover the forehead, and if pulled down, it must not be long enough to go below the eyebrows. Had to always be combed, brushed, and/or gelled. No uneven shaving hair. Basically, no punk looks. The story. Between me being a total nerd, an introvert, sucking at non-cycling sports, being a member of the library lunch club, and having applied for and been accepted into the ultra-dorky 30-boy school chamber choir, I was completely like a lemniscate-shaped peg trying to choose between square and round holes. For those of you who may not be familiar with the word lemniscate, which I certainly wasn't before I read it here, it's apparently a noun in analytic geometry. Quote-unquote, a plane curve generated by the locus of the point at which a variable tangent to a rectangular hyperbola intersects a perpendicular from the center to the tangent. The equation is r squared equals 2a squared cosine theta. I guess it's not going to fit in either a circular or square-like hole. I eventually gave up trying to fit in and began seeking manners to stick out. I soon became the only student to attend school by bicycle. I bought trench coats, heavy boots, fanny packs, and expedition backpacks. I discovered anime and cosplay, and eventually, I believe I was watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something, and saw a dude with a cylindrical afro, and thought, that would fit the rules, wouldn't it? I thus began letting my hair grow on top. It begun rather tame, just the noticeable cylindrical shape, but between my hairdresser gaining practice and me never failing a hair length test, plus me spending a good 2 or 3 minutes per hour combing it up. I eventually let it grow until I could hide a standing crayon on the crown of my head. My only regret was the no punk look rule, forcing me to keep something of a cushion on the sides and back. Still, half the school hated me for having and milking my personal loophole, but I was a total social urchin and bully magnet and was glad to fight back in such a blatant fashion. I eventually moved on to high school where there was no uniform at all and nobody was checking hair, but I discovered that letting it grow further up was just forcing me to comb so much more. And then I turned 18 and had to do my mandatory military service, thus I had to actually chop it down. And being that I had just moved to Cancun, I discovered that my vertical hairdo was as unpleasant as wearing a wool cap in this hellish heat and gave up on it. But my memories remain, and just to clarify, I didn't call it Marge Simpson hair back then, but the description fits. I actually called it my vertical hairdo. As some of the commenters point out, my vertical hairdo sounds like a horrible satirical band name, or I guess a fantastic satirical band name, depending on how you look at it. And also, I genuinely hope the show that he was watching was not in fact The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but rather Hey Arnold, an animated classic that we should never forget. In those immortal words, move it, football head. You want to extort money from my business? You're being an asshole landlord? Oh, I'll play by the rules. Don't worry about that. This happened quite some time ago. I was sent to Spain to a very small company to try and save it. It was during the financial crisis, so basically I tried first to spend less money, negotiating everything I could. First time I met the landlord, I saw this very old guy shaking with all his bones, dressed like he couldn't afford clothes from the 21st century. But after the typical chit-chat, I tell him I'm planning on moving out because the rent was way too high. It was easily 30% above market. He then proceeds to show me one of his buildings he had on offer that he had just refused, 17 million euro, and basically told me to screw off and that he would agree on not raising the rent in the coming 12 months. That was when I started looking for something more decent and better than the beaten offices we had, and I found it quite easily. Here comes the malicious compliance. When you exit the offices, the landlord, especially where we had those offices, tries to fix everything with the deposit you put at the start of the lease. So, knowing the piece of trash of a landlord I had, I talked to a lawyer I had in my contacts and explained him the situation. He then came up with an idea. The next day comes when we have to leave the office. Our landlord, being the smartass that he is, comes along with his own lawyer to make sure we'll follow the law. But what he didn't know was we also had our lawyer on site, one contractor to fix any minor problems on the spot, and a notary, so we could redact the document stating everything without possibility to discuss later. He was furious. We could fix everything. The only thing we had to replace was an AC which never worked, so we ordered the worst possible one for 300 and got all of our deposit back. Icing on the cake, or cherry on top, pick one. The guy maintaining the building told us it took him more than a year to find someone else, and apparently at a way lower price. Oh wow, you're telling me the mean landlord wasn't able to find someone to fill your vacant space when he was charging 30% above market averages during the recession of 2008? That just shocks me. Sends chills down my spine, unbelievable. But seriously, not all landlords are bad people. Don't get me wrong, not all of them are, but there are some that are very bad. And those some that are very bad will definitely try to screw you out of all your money, including all of your deposit money. So be incredibly careful with your contract. Good on you, OP, for talking to a lawyer and seeing things through in the end. Leave it to Karen to screw it up for everyone else. This happened around 5 years ago. I was about 13 at the time. My cousin and older brother were going to be hosting the family reunion that year. It was the first time hosting for the both of them. It was held over 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night was a small welcome party at my cousin's house. Saturday was sightseeing followed by dinner and games at a local hotel. Sunday was church. My brother was only around for Saturday as he had to work Friday night and he's not a church-going person. The restaurant my brother worked at was catering the Saturday dinner, so to save money, he enlisted some of his friends and girlfriend to help set up and serve. The prizes for the games included gift cards, gift certificates to the restaurant my brother worked at, and some other stuff. They were even raffling off a painting. My brother's girlfriend did it just for the reunion. She was going to college for art, I think. It was absolutely beautiful and everyone wanted it. My brother and his friends got to the hotel early Saturday morning to set up, then went to pick up the food from the restaurant. These guys did a great job as the dining hall looked amazing. Everyone had arrived by the time they got back with the food. The restaurant was on the northwest side of town, about a 30-minute drive depending on traffic. They set up and start serving. Now, I should point out that my brother's friends were working for free. They still got to be a part of the festivities and meet and hang out with the family. This was also his girlfriend's first time meeting the family. Everyone was seemingly having a great time, with one exception, Karen. She was my grandma's cousin, I think. Karen didn't like the fact that non-family was a part of our reunion, and she was very vocal about this. For the most part, everyone ignored her. That didn't last long, though. Karen decided that she wanted seconds on food and walks up to the food table. At this point, everyone was well into playing cards, chatting, or whatever. In her best, "I want to see your manager" voice, she goes, "Where are the damn servers? We're not paying them to sit around and have fun. Hope that you remember that my brother's friends aren't getting paid." She marches over the table that my brother and his friends are sitting at and goes, "Either they do their damn jobs or they leave." My brother isn't fond of being talked down to or someone disrespecting his friends. He kindly explains to Karen that they're doing us a favor and are welcome to enjoy themselves as well. But Karen is not having it. Instead of causing a scene, my brother just said, "You know what? Screw it." He said to his friends, "Well, you heard her. I guess we gotta leave. Let's pack up and go to the bar." Without missing a beat, they stopped what they were doing and started packing up. All the equipment from the restaurant was loaded into cars, food was placed on the tables and started to go cold. Decorations were taken down and loaded up. They had loaded up whatever they could carry with them in 30 minutes' time. All that was left was tables, chairs, food, prizes, and the painting. They said their goodbyes and just left. Everyone is stunned by what they had just witnessed. Leave it to Karen to screw it up for everybody. With the mood soured, we held the raffle for the painting and called it a night. Luckily, my great aunt won the painting. It's still hanging up in her house to this day. The aftermath. We as a group had to clean up the mess just so my cousin could get his deposit back. My brother, of course, didn't show up for the church service. Then there was Karen. She was basically shunned because of her actions. She hasn't been welcomed to the family reunion since. Oh, I forgot, the painting was of the family farm in North Carolina. I recently found out that it was going to be passed down when my great aunt passed. That is some remarkable group thinking skills and honestly, group courage for all of them to simultaneously decide, yup, that's it. We're out of here, folks, that's all, and pack up everything. I genuinely do feel bad for the rest of the family, and it sucks that Karen had to ruin it for them, to force these guys who were literally just trying to help out, back, away, with all the stuff that they brought, making it a much more fun event. Basically, don't be a dick. Kids, don't be like Karen. Check the property line before I build? Okie dokie. So, a few years ago, my uncle wanted to add an extension to the side of the house where his yard went around the side a bit. He asked the neighbor, who's actually a really lovely older man, who said, "Sure, feel free," and my uncle started to work. Unfortunately, the neighbor got ill and his demon seed, neighbor's child, started coming over. And when they saw that my uncle was building close to the neighbor's side yard, they were furious. They immediately asked him to stop, which my uncle did, and the neighbor's child insisted he was building on the neighbor's property. Now, my uncle's a really nice guy, so to avoid any issues, he offered to buy the part of the yard he was going to extend to and offered a reasonable $5,000 for it. It wasn't that big of a patch. The demon child got greedy and refused, so my uncle, being a gentleman, doubled it and offered $10,000 as he thought it was easier than going through the hassle of lawyers and property lines, etc. But the neighbor's kid still refused. He said, "You're crossing my dad's property line. You can't build on it. Either give us more money or stop building. We want to sell this house when he's gone." Yep, they were literally waiting for the sweet neighbor to die so they can sell his house. I think $10,000 is fair enough. I'm not using very much land at all, and it's still close to my part of the property. Nope, it's not. Check the property lines. You're way past your property line. Offer us more money or stop building. Are you sure you don't want to take that money? Huh, not at what you're offering. Check the property lines, love. Yep, we're British. Sorry. So my uncle complied with their wishes and stopped all building. It was on their property after all. Or was it? This is where the malicious compliance comes in. He did exactly what the kid asked and got the original plans for both properties, still have no idea how, and checked the property lines to see how it was divided. Wouldn't you know it, he wasn't on their property line. They were on his. With a massive smile, my uncle went to the neighbors the next time the neighbor's kid was around and kindly showed them the plans of the properties, clearly showing where their properties were divided. Their faces when they realized they had not only missed out on an easy 10 grand, they had in fact lost their dad about 1/4 of his yard was priceless. They had to move the fence and my uncle got to build his extension stress-free. Sorry, no angry outburst or anything like that. Moral of the story, if you want to build and the neighbor's kid insists you should check the property lines, do it. You might just save some money and gain some land. Well, besides the obvious incompetence of the neighbor's kid just not understanding where their property lines are and having to be generally a jerk about it, it just makes my blood absolutely boil when people talk about their relatives that way, that they're just waiting for them to die off so they can sell their worldly possessions. That's super messed up. Now, I know I said before to not be like Karen, but I'll edit that statement. Don't be like Karen, but also don't be like this neighbor's child. Don't be like either of them. Avoid their rather malicious, I guess, foibles, and you'll honestly be a lot better off in the world. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit content. Drop a like if you liked the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.